Okay, to start, the COVID-19 pandemic, typhoons, and earthquakes are some recent examples of how calamities in the Philippines have disrupted different modes of learning. For example, blended, hybrid, high flex, and the education system in general. So this also includes e-learning institutions like UP Open University and an open university like UPOU, which have geographically dispersed student populations dependent on technology and internet access. The absence of a clear framework for disruption resilient education will only lead to more class cancellations, delayed schedules, haphazardly prepared requirements, and eventually frustration for both learners and teachers. This paper or this presentation proposes a holistic framework for proactively responding to disruptions using Geographic Information Systems or GIS as a platform for quick decision making and real-time monitoring. Using geospatial data, school administrators would be able to identify key areas with significant student populations that may be affected by calamities. And using the framework, a suite of alternative activities and requirements can be deployed to students ahead of time to give them peace of mind without compromising on quality and continuity of education. And as we continue to experience the effects of climate change, more disruptions will eventually appear within this decade and for decades to come. But this should not be the reason for quality education to cease. Most literature has focused on COVID-19 as a driver for changing how we do education. How has COVID-19 pandemic altered main processes in education, according to Abdullah Hussein and Haider, including academic recruitment, management, teaching and learning processes, study and advancement processes, student life. So accommodations for students who go to campus, financial and co-curricular activities, and other student welfare activities, including food and transportation. According to Eva et al., the pandemic has caused abrupt changes and considerable pressures on college students, both internally and externally, which might trigger negative emotions, including stress in undergoing study from home. According to Naidu, the online learning environment clearly requires a rethink and re-engineering of teaching and learning strategies. Also applies to open universities like OpenU. And lastly, according to Devantoro and Rachmawati, although the use of online learning models will continue with the times, it is hoped that the management of technology, pedagogy, and content in online learning can work together and provide students comfort in learning. So this is the scenario. Although the COVID-19 pandemic was the main reason behind a radical shift in learning modalities, we should not forget that climate change is the main driver for disruption. This is especially true in the Philippines, where class cancellations and moving of deadlines is a common practice. In this example scenario, typhoons or heavy rains at the very least disrupt power, connectivity, and infrastructure, leaving students with a lot of stress and anxiety. A common practice is to present alternative requirements or extended deadlines as a response to the effects of the said disruption. And given the interconnectivity of the e-learning landscape and its virtual nature, the created digital learning environment composed of students, the teachers, and the gadgets that they use is still dependent on external factors such as infrastructure and weather. For the framework, we're proposing this very simple diagram. Using GIS tools, school administrators will have prior knowledge of student distribution and which populations are more vulnerable and prone to natural hazards and disruptions. For disruptions, geopolitical and socioeconomic disruptions should also be included. Data such as telecommunication towers, internet speed, and access to internet cafes will also be available. With existing geospatial information on our students, student support packages are already on standby, ready to be deployed once disruptions occur. This is in contrast to the reactive nature of crafting alternatives once students have already been disconnected or has been offline. Some outcomes of this framework are: first, the school will have the ability to forecast impacts of disruptions based on student spatial distribution. Second, the school administration will be able to monitor the situation using a dashboard and relay or deploy plans of action to faculties in charge. Third, school policy to provide automatic contingency activities or requirements to those affected by disruption from onset to recovery. And fourth, with this framework, there will be no need for students to request deadline extensions, therefore having peace of mind and continuity of class schedule despite a disruption. So in conclusion, with this framework, there will be no need for students to request deadline extensions and worry about missing school. Therefore, they will have peace of mind and continuity of class schedule despite a disruption. As a recommendation, we are open to discussing our GIS-based disruption resilient framework with our peers, colleagues, and students so that we will receive more input on what needs to be done to apply the framework to more schools in the Philippines. Thanks for listening.